with several different shows, quite a few movies, and even a reboot. Star Trek is a major universe in the science fiction genre, influencing other science fiction writers and even real-world innovations. We all owe a lot to this franchise. Today, we are looking at some of the lesser-known tidbits. I'm Ollamh, and welcome to Geek Trivia. One of the more memorable items is the Vulcan Salute, the split-fingered hand gesture. Did you know that this is actually something that Leonard Nimoy introduced to the series based on a blessing gesture from the Jewish faith? He saw the gesture at one point as a child, looking at a group of holy men when he was not supposed to. The gesture is actually the first Hebrew letter in the name of the Almighty. If you look closely at some of the tubes in the hallways of the original Enterprise set, you may note that some of the tubes are marked with GNDN, which is a joke in the setting. The letters actually mean goes nowhere, does nothing. A lot of people know that Star Trek, the original series, showed the first on-screen interracial kiss. But did you know that Nichelle Nichols was very close to quitting the show during the first season? It's true. She was convinced to stay on by none other than Martin Luther King Jr., who told her that she was playing an important role as a strong, intelligent African-American character, which was practically unheard of in 1966. In the original series, the uniforms were color-coded to specific branches of specialization. Gold for command, including navigation and weapons. Red for operations such as engineering, communications, and security, and blue for sciences, including medical. The colors changed a bit in the Next Generation, though, as command became red and operations became gold. Sciences stayed blue, but Data, who was supposed to take over from Spock as head of science, moved to operations when the paint from his skin clashed with the blue uniform. Speaking of uniforms, in the original series, badges were worn on the uniform were not universal. They actually had 4 separate styles and meanings. The normal, recognized star was designated as command. The cross was designated a medical officer. An oval or circle split into 3 sections was used to show that the individual was part of the science team. And a segmented spiral, which was said to be a representation of the warp drive, was used as an engineering badge. This was, of course, changed in the Next Generation when the badges became communicators as well. Speaking of communicators, Motorola's Martin Cooper, who led development of the first handheld mobile phone, said he was inspired to try and develop the phone after seeing Kirk with his communicator on Star Trek. Another piece of technology that many people don't realize was in the original series was the idea of a solid-state portable storage device. They're used in the show and shown as large, thin blocks. Today we would recognize the item as some sort of memory card, much like what is used in video cameras and extra storage on some phones. Also, the Next Generation gave way to the idea of a touchscreen, where the menus changed depending on what you select. Originally, the director was confused as to how the computers were being used. Someone would touch the same spot multiple times, but it was supposed to be pulling up various different things. It was then explained that the menus and options were supposed to change each time something was selected on the screen, much the same way an iPhone or an Android phone are used today. Also in the Next Generation, Picard is often seen reading from something that looks very much like an e-book or tablet. Again, it would not be far-fetched to think that someone creating the device based on just a few shots, and certainly nothing terribly detailed, of where technology should be going. In the series Deep Space Nine, we see Cisco using a virtual display device to substitute a view screen. This, again, was an idea that found its way into the real world in the form of the Google Glass device. Which really makes me wonder, what else are we going to come up with that is based on a seemingly wild idea from Star Trek? Now, while the Star Trek universe does not have any actual connections to an even older and longer running sci-fi series, there are some hints that they may be connected. In Star Trek Enterprise, the crew find a ship that is much larger on the inside than on the outside, much like the TARDIS from Doctor Who. And that's not the only connection, though. In an earlier episode, Dr. Phlox is showing off his scanner to some visiting aliens, and when scanning one of them, mentions that the individual has 2 hearts. Again, like the Time Lords from Doctor Who. I can't help but wonder if at some time we might see an official crossover between the two. As a final point of interest, did you know that the Borg were supposed to be very different? In an early episode of The Next Generation, there's an insectoid species that had managed to infiltrate and take control over several high-ranking members of Starfleet. At the end, there's a message sent out into deep space. This was supposed to be the ultimate enemy of the series, but the idea changed from insects to the Borg due to budget constraints. It's much easier to put somebody in a skin-tight costume and put random bits of machinery on them than make a CGI insect. That, unfortunately, is all the time we have for this episode of Geek Trivia. We could go on for days with all the Star Trek trivia. What is your favorite piece of trivia about Star Trek? What did we miss? What is something you didn't know before? Leave a comment down below and let us know. As always, thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more from Ollamh Productions. Cheerio! Hey, did you know that here at Ollamh Productions we have a Patreon page? That's right, you can help make the videos bigger and better. We like to be able to make various different types of videos for you, and without having to charge or even putting ads on them. Check out the link down below and help keep these videos coming.